Hello everyone, welcome back to the Maker's Gonna Learn channel. My name is Lauren and I'm a craft producer here at Maker's Gonna Learn, and in today's video we are gonna learn how to fill shapes with words. So what I want you to take away from this is gonna be a very design space heavy video, and we're gonna teach you how to set up a shape and then fill in that shape with a bunch of different words so that we can get a really cool effect. You can see here, we have sublimated this on this pillow. However, there are so many different ways that you can use this technique. As you can see here, we have also made a little Christmas ornament where we have used inkjet transparency film as well as cardstock to make a super simple ornament or gift tag. So stick around, we're going to teach you exactly how to do all these things. But before we get started, let's go ahead and go overhead and talk about all the supplies that you're going to need to complete these two projects that you see here. Starting off with this adorable little inkjet transparency ornament, the things that you're going to need if you want to create this are obviously an inkjet printer. Our favorite is the Canon TS9500 series. That's the one that we have here in the office. We have used it for years. It is definitely our go-to. You are going to need inkjet transparency film. This will be linked down below. We have labeled it front and back because there is a way that you have to put it in the printer, but you can see it looks very similar to like Mylar film. However, it will go through your printer. So you want to make sure that you do have this. Once again, this is linked down below. We have some red and white baker's twine. I have this beautiful white glitter cardstock from Celebration Warehouse. I do have a well-loved strong grip mat. You can use a standard grip mat for this. This is just one that we had here in the studio. And then I'm using this Aleene's tacky glue. This is a precision tip tacky glue, and you will see here in a minute when it comes to like tacking this down, you literally cannot see where I have tacked it and where I haven't. So it does come in very, very handy for this project. Now, if you are wanting to sublimate, we're actually not going to sublimate today. Like I said, this is going to be a very design space heavy tutorial. However, if you do want to sublimate, I will link these pillow covers down below. If you have the capabilities and want to sublimate, you will need a pillow cover and then your sublimation printer and a heat press as well. Now that we've gone over the materials, let's go ahead and hop over into Design Space and teach you all how to fill in shapes with words. Now that we're here, you can see the finished product, but I'm going to scroll over here to the side and I'm going to teach you how to get to this point. So the first thing you want to do is you want to decide what shape you are wanting to create, whether that is a snowman or anything else. You need to have a general idea of what shape you want to fill in. So today we are doing a snowman. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to my basic shape and I'm going to grab two circles, or I'm going to grab a circle and then I'm going to duplicate it, okay? So we're going to start creating kind of like a silhouette of what we want to create. So if you wanted to do a snowman with 3 tiers, you can, 2 tiers, whatever. So we kind of have a general idea. Now, one thing I do highly suggest is if you are adding other cut files in, so I'm going to be adding his top hat, the scarf, and everything else, you need to do so now with your template so that you don't run into any issues when you are adding your extras later. So now that we're here on the website, we're going to search the cut files that we're going to be using. So the first one we're going to be doing is the Walking in a Winter Wonderland Snowman. So I'm just going to search Walking in a Winter. It should pop right up. And this is the snowman we're going to use for the hat and the arms. So I'm just going to download that. And then for the scarf, the one that I'm going to be showing you how to manipulate is the snowman family file. So this one, we're going to download that. We're going to unzip it. Now this is a PNG, but I'm going to show you how to manipulate it. Back in Design Space, we're going to go to Uploads. We're going to upload image. I'm going to pop back over to my Finder and I'm going to drag and drop this PNG in here. And then I wanted a complex image. We're going to go to continue. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to erase everything that is not this scarf. So once we have all of these erased here around the scarf, what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring my eraser tool in here, pop it up really big, and just erase everybody else away from here. And just so you all know, you can do this with any PNG. You can really manipulate it if you want certain areas of the PNG to be a cut file. So now I can go to preview cut image, and it's going to show me that it's just the scarf that it's going to cut. So now what I want to do is I'm going to hit apply and continue. I don't want this as a print and cut image. I want this as a cut image. So now I'm going to upload that. And here you can see we have the scarf separate from everything else. But before we move to our canvas, we are going to upload the Walking in a Winter Wonderland. So I'm going to bring my Finder back up. Pull this in as an SVG. Then we're going to upload. And now we have both of these files ready to put on our canvas. So I'm going to select them both and add them to canvas. Once they are here, I'm going to separate my scarf and my Winter Wonderland, and I'm going to size my scarf down to where I want it. And here I notice I need to bring the snowman's head down just a bit, move the scarf over, and then here I'm going to go to contour, and I'm actually just going to hit hide all contours because I find like that's the easiest, and with this one specifically, and then coming back and picking the ones that you want. So I want to leave the hat, I want that word gone, I want the berries and the leaves, and I also want the arms. And now what we're going to do is we're going to bring this over, size it accordingly. And the good part about this is from here, from this point, you can separate these two out. So if you wanted to, we could duplicate this, come back to contour, contour out the hat. So now we just have the arms separate. We can size those up and place them where they need to go. And if you do that, you need to make sure you come back and contour out the arms over here. And now you have your hat that you can size individually. Now, just because I want to manipulate this a little bit more, I'm going to duplicate this hat, and I'm going to come back to contour. I know this is a lot, but trust me, it's in the details that make this project so much better. I'm going to contour out the hat, and then all we're left with are the berries and the leaves. We're going to duplicate that again. And now I'm going to contour out the leaves so that I can make the berries larger. And then here I'm going to contour out the berries. So I'm going to zoom in because these are very small. I'm going to size them up, change the color to red. I'm going to go ahead and change the scarf color to red as well. We're going to change the arms to brown. And now I'm going to select this hat, contour out the leaves and berries there, bring the berries closer in, and move the leaves, change them to green, and move them in a little closer as well. And this is what I mean by it is really truly in the details that make a project look like it's store-bought or not. So selecting all of this, I'm just going to move it over and get it to fit. So now we have our base of what the shape that we are going to be filling in with words. Okay? If you want to, you can change these both to white, both of your circles to white, so that you can get a better feel of what it's going to look like. So the hardest part that I found of this project was going through all of the fonts that we have on our Makers Gonna Learn website and finding the ones that I wanted to use, which I have done for you. So it shouldn't be very hard for you to recreate this exact project. So we are gonna be using 6 different fonts today. I'm gonna show you how to upload one of those fonts, but you can do a rinse and repeat process for the other 5 if you don't already have them downloaded on your computer. So we're gonna go over to our Makers Gonna Learn website. We are gonna go to the font section, and I'm just gonna type in the first font that I'm gonna be using today, which is gonna be Angelina. And here you can see it's a beautiful script font. So to download that, you're gonna click the arrow pointing down. You're gonna come over here, double click that, double click it again, install it onto your computer, and then you will go back to Design Space. Make sure you save your project. Always, always, always save your project. And then from there, you're gonna go to View and reload your canvas. That way that font is now installed in Cricut Design Space as well. So making sure that you save your project is the biggest thing, because now we are right back where we were. One other thing that I want to talk about with this project is it's very important when you are pairing your fonts that you have a mixture of basic fonts, a thick font, maybe 1 or 2 script fonts, but you want them to all be very legible, because you want to make sure you can see all of the different names that you are putting in your snowman. So like I said, Angelina is going to be the first font. So let's go over here to our fonts or text. We're going to go to our system fonts. We're going to type in Angelina. And this is the one that I use for the bottom that just says the Griffith family. So if you want to go ahead and type out the Griffith family or whatever family you're doing it for, you can. Now, if this is a font that you want to do with all of the different names, let me show you a trick for this part that will make designing this so much easier. So the next font that we're going to use is Century. And I highly suggest you doing this next step, whatever fonts you decide to choose. So this is Century. I felt like this was a very Christmas type font, and I just had to have it in this project. So once you have your next font, I highly suggest you typing out all of the different names that you are going to be using in your project. So for this one, we are going to be doing Alicia. Then I'm going to the next line, hitting enter. We're going to do Ruby. We're going to do Trey, Georgia, Margie, and Mike. Okay? So now you can see what all of these different names look like with this font. And I actually think that I want the M's to be just plain. So with this font, a capital M looks like this, a lowercase m looks like this. Now there may be an instance where you want it uppercase, but that's going to be a complete design preference. Once you have typed your names out, I'm going to make this a little bit smaller, pull it over here to the side, and then I'm going to duplicate it, bring it over here, select everything in there, and then I'm going to change it to my second font. Now the second font that we're going to be using today is Duffy. Once again, I just felt like this was really Christmassy looking. These are 2 of the fancier fonts, I guess you could call it. The rest of them are going to be, we're going to have 1 more script font, and then the other 2 are going to be pretty plain. So once again, we're going to duplicate this, bring it down here, select all the names. Our third font that we're going to be using is Art Deco. And then all of our names get changed to Art Deco. We're going to duplicate again, select them all. Our Next font is going to be Baby Breath. Now this is the script font that we are going to be doing here, and then we're going to duplicate one more time, and I'm going to bring it to this side. And this font, the last font we're going to be using is Funky Disco. So we're just going to type in Funky Disco. And those are the 5 main fonts that I'm going to be using in this design. Now what I highly suggest you doing after this, just to kind of streamline the process, is take each group. So we're going to select this group. We're going to go to Advanced. We're going to ungroup that to lines. That way each name is all going to be its own separate thing now. And we're going to just rinse and repeat. So Advanced, ungroup to lines, Advanced, ungroup to lines, Advanced, ungroup to lines, and then finally ungroup to lines. So now we have everyone's name already pre-typed out. So all you have to do is grab the name, duplicate it, and put it where you want it on your snowman. At this point, we are going to start the assembling of filling this shape. So you want to start out with making your bigger words. You want to have everyone's name pretty large on the shape. So let's start out with the bottom and work our way up. So I want to start out, we'll start with Mike. And one thing is, not all fonts are going to be the same. So here I'm going to have to go back and capitalize that M. So I'm going to start with Mike. We'll bring Mike in here. I want to make Mike not super large, but pretty big. And then, because I use this font, actually we're gonna, now one thing I did is I brought Mike in from over there, but we want to make sure we keep it. So let's just duplicate that and bring it back over here so we have it here. Next, I want to do Margie in this Art Deco font, so I'm going to duplicate that. We'll make it a little bit bigger, bring it in here, and then just kind of position them. And one thing you can do, there are some fonts that you can unlock and stretch a little bit, will work for this project, but not all fonts look good stretched. So we're just going to make this one a little smaller. We'll make Margie just a tad bit smaller. And then next we'll have Alicia. I'm going to duplicate this, bring it over. Now you do want some of your text going vertical as well. One thing you can do is come up here to rotate. Rotate this 90 degrees and then position somewhere where it would fit. So this is a little bit big. Let's move it down. Next, we're going to do Trey. So I want to do Trey in this font. We're going to duplicate. We'll bring Trey down here. Put it right there. And then we need Ruby. We'll put Ruby up here. And then we also need Georgia. I also just realized that I typed out Georgie, but it's supposed to be Georgia, so I'm going to go change all of this to where it says Georgia. And then I think I want to rotate Georgia, so I'm going to type in 270 for this one. And then we're going to put Georgia here. Now, at this point, it's all about filling in your space. One thing I do want you all to remember is you don't have to get it perfectly around your shape. As long as you have a general idea or have it close, that's really what matters the most. So you want to make them all different sizes, going different ways, up and down, vertical, horizontal, big, little, whatever. You are just going to go through, add in all of these different names, different ways. And once you are done designing, It should look very similar to this. What you need to do next is we are going to delete out all of these names because we no longer need them. And now you have your base of your project. Now, we were just using the circles as guides, so we no longer need those either. So we're gonna just delete out, make sure you're not anything else. You're gonna be coming to your circles on your layers panel, and we're gonna be deleting our circles out. Now what you're gonna wanna do is you're definitely gonna want to work through your layers panel right now because there are a lot of layers to this project, as you can see. What you're gonna do, the best way that I found to do is to hide all of your pieces of your snowman right now to kind of get it out of the way. And then we'll go ahead and hide his top hat and the berries and stuff. We don't want to move them, we just want to hide them. So now what we're going to do is I'm going to grab the Griffith family. I'm going to move it up just a little bit. And without doing anything else, I'm going to drag way far away because all of these names right now are individual and can be moved. So we're going to, over here, so we make sure we don't move anything, select all of this, come down here to combine, and unite them together. So that's going to unite everything under one layer so it all is together. Now you can come back down here and unhide all of the little elements to your snowman. And now you can kind of move this around if you would like. Once you have done that, you are now going to select everything together. Okay, we're selecting it all. And we are going to come up here to offset, and we are going to add an offset. Now we're going to be adding 2 offsets. So the first one doesn't need to be super huge because we're going to add another offset, and that's going to be our white glitter layer for the ornament. So for this first offset, we're going to do 0.15 and see how that looks. And I'm actually going to bring it up to, let's do 1/8. It's still a little bit, I still want just a teeny bit more. So let's bring it up to 0.2, and I think that will be perfect. That one is a lot better. So we're going to go ahead and apply, but you still see that we have, we'll change it to white. You still see we have some of these little guys inside. We're just going to go to contour. We're going to hide all contours. Actually, we're going to leave that guy in there. We want that cut out, but I don't want those things cut out. We're going to make sure all of these layers are selected, and we're going to flatten those all together. So now it is just one flattened piece. Okay, so this is what we are going to be printing on the inkjet transparency. Obviously 11 inches is a little big, so we're going to size this down to about 6 inches will be a good, a good size. And then before we send this to the printer, we do need to give it one more layer, one more offset, so that we can cut it out of our glitter cardstock. So we're gonna go back to offset one more time. 0.25 is gonna be way too big for this one, so we're just gonna pull it down, go with 0.15, we'll see how that is. I like 0.15, so we're gonna apply that. I want that little guy out of there, so we're going to change that from a print and cut to a basic cut function. Go to contour and contour out these little pieces in here. Beautiful. So now we have our outside, and then here we have what we're going to be printing out. From there, we're going to go to make it. Once you are here, make sure that your size of your paper is 8.5 by 11 because we are working with an 8.5 by 11 piece of transparency film. So we're gonna hit continue. We're gonna send this to our printer, turn bleed off, and always use system dialog. Like I said, our favorite inkjet printer is our Canon TS9500 series. So we're gonna hit print. Our print dialog box is gonna pull up behind Design Space. I'm going to be feeding this from the rear tray. I'm going to choose photo paper because it is a glossy paper, and we're gonna print it on best quality. Once it is printed, you do want it to dry just a little bit, but we're gonna go ahead and place it down on our mat. One thing that I do suggest is kind of touching the outside edges just to make sure that it is dry. And it is, and we're gonna take our brayer and we're gonna bray this down onto our mat. Once you have done that, we are going to go back to Design Space. I'm gonna be cutting this on the Mylar setting today. And I'm going to use more pressure. So I'm gonna change from default to more. And then we're gonna load this into our Cricut. And then we're gonna hit play. And now what it's gonna do is our Cricut is going to register those registration marks so that it knows exactly where to cut. Once that is done, one thing that I highly suggest you doing is coming in here and making sure that it has clean cuts. Because if it does not cut through, you do not want to unload, which right now it looks like it could use, I think that I could get it off, but I also think that it could use another pass. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna hit the play button again, and what it's gonna do is it's gonna bring this back through the Cricut, and it's going to cut in the exact same spot one more time. Now I can see that I've got such a better cut on this, and it really is gonna weed beautifully. So I'm just going to unload my mat, bring it over here, and take our transparency sheet off, and look how good that did. Now we're just going to unload it from our mat, always going with gravity for this. And now you have the first part of our little snowman ornament completed. Now I'm going to add our white glitter cardstock onto our mat. Bray it down really well. We're going to be setting our base material on glitter cardstock. And sending it to our machine. Once it's finished, we're going to unload this from the mat. Same thing as before, flipping our mat over and unloading it, going with gravity. We're going to set this to the side, and now you have your base for your beautiful ornament, gift tag, whatever you want to use it as. Now, one other thing that I highly suggest you doing before you glue, I would come in here. Now, if you want to have the Cricut cut a hole, you can. I found it easier just to use a hole punch. So we're just going to line these up here. And the reason I say do this before gluing, that way you don't have glue in between and you don't ruin this. So we're just gonna hold those both in place there and come in here and add a hole. Once you have added your hole, we're gonna flip this over. I'm just gonna grab my Aleene's tacky glue, and I'm gonna add some, just a little bit, here at the top. Now, normally we would use the Zig two-way pen or even the ATG gun, but I have found that the Zig two-way pen does not at all like working. It doesn't like to work with glitter cardstock for some reason. So I've just added a little bit to the hat and the scarf where the color is. We're gonna line those holes up and just press down there. And then I'm just gonna come in and add a little dot here at this arm, not a lot. It does dry clear, so I really love that. We're gonna add just a little bit here at the bottom, just enough to tack it down. And then let that sit and dry. Once it has dried, you're gonna grab your baker's twine or whatever ribbon you want to use. We're gonna string it through this hole. And then tie our little hanger on here. You can do it with a bow, you can do it with a knot, really whatever you prefer. Just make sure it's really good and tight. And then I'm just going to bring my scissors in here and trim off the excess. And there you go, your very own custom name ornament, gift tag, whatever, filling this shape with words. Was this not so much fun? Now, this is something that I truly absolutely enjoy doing. The designing portion of using my Cricut is my absolute favorite thing to do, figuring out ways that we can make something that we see that we really like. So I hope you all have learned something throughout this video. Now, if you wanted to create the same thing, but you wanted to sublimate, you can do it all in Design Space, and then once you go to print it or print and cut, you just make sure that you change your paper size. For example, this one we printed on 8.5 by 11 so that we could get the bigger size. Go over to the taskbar, change your paper size on your print and cut image, and then send it to your sublimation printer. And we press this at 385 degrees for 60 seconds. Now, if you want to recreate this exact same project, but you do not have access to the files or the fonts that I use, let me invite you to the Maker's Gonna Learn membership. Within our membership, you get thousands of cut files and hundreds of fonts so that you can recreate everything that you see here on our channel. If you want to learn more about Maker's Gonna Learn, make sure you click that first link down below. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you like this video, comment down below, and subscribe to our channel. I absolutely cannot wait to get crafty with you all this Christmas season, and I will see you guys in the next tutorial.